I saw Henry walking up to the house from the kitchen. I walked to the door to open it, and he came inside in anger, walking past me, pushing me aside with his shoulders as he went up to his room. "Henry, your school called me again." I tried to follow him, but he ran upstairs and slammed the door shut. "I'm going to call your father right away." I dreaded telling my husband about Henry's school. It stressed him out, and his blood pressure would shoot up instantly. Henry had already been kicked out of 6 schools because of his behavior and bullying. Nothing I did changed him now, as he had become a bully at home as well. I had Henry after 3 miscarriages. My pregnancy was also complicated. I couldn't even have any more children after him. Hence, I and my husband, Augustus, spent all of our time, love, and money on Henry, which in turn began spoiling him to an extent that even after years, we have been unable to fix it. Henry had to never ask for a single thing twice, and he began to bully children in his school to gain what he wanted. It started out very small with toys and food, so we had ignored it, but now it was so much more than that. Henry's school had called me today to inform me that Henry had been caught cheating. He had bullied one of the students to write his examination paper. The child had agreed in fear and eventually confessed everything when he was caught. They had called us to the school tomorrow to discuss. I heaved a sigh and called my husband to tell him to be home soon. My husband had gotten worried because of the tone of my voice and had come home in the afternoon itself. I told him about the phone call from school, and he got tensed at once. He went to Henry's room at once, but Henry didn't answer his door even after continuous knocking and shouting. Eventually, Augustus gave up and retorted back to me. Henry got out of his room at dinner, and we both stood up at once on seeing him. "Henry!" "Oh, don't bother lecturing me. I'm going out. I won't be back soon, so you oldies can go to bed." Henry left out of the house before we could even utter any word. Early in the morning, I and Augustus were both in the waiting room outside the principal's office. We had to wait for Henry before we went in, so we both sat in uncomfortable silence. There were 2 other parents in the room who kept staring at us. When Henry came in, we all got up at once. Seeing him, the reception sighed and asked us to go inside at once. "Good morning. You may all take a seat. Mr. and Mrs. Benter." He began looking at us distressed. "I'm sorry, but we can't keep Henry in this school any longer. He has been bullying these students to have them take his examinations. He has also physically abused them to scare them." We both looked to the ground, embarrassed. However, Henry suddenly stood up and pushed the principal's desk, causing a few of his files to fall down. "Oh, maybe I should scare you off as well." "Security!" "I'm so sorry. We will leave right away." He grabbed Henry's arms and started dragging him out. "We will compensate the students he has harmed with anything that may need. Again, we are so sorry." But I didn't want Henry to be expelled again. However, my husband gave me a look, and I followed him outside quietly. Henry shrugged off my husband's grip once we were outside and laughed. "Well, I guess I'm free all day now. You oldies can head home. My friends and I are going to have a small party. Woohoo!" Augustus snatched Henry's wallet from his jean pocket at once. He took out the ATM cards and split them in halves. He then threw the wallet into some trees far off. "You are coming home with us, right now." He hardly used his voice like this, but Henry knew he had no money, so he got into the car. When we were seated in the living room, Augustus announced that Henry would be joining him at work from tomorrow and would start off from manual work as he wasn't qualified for anything else after being expelled from his high school. He told Henry that he would be paying him minimum wage and he couldn't be getting any pocket money. "What? Me? At work? Dad, are you hallucinating with age? No, but you definitely will be if you don't start working tomorrow. I won't be keeping you in this house for free. The next morning, I woke up before anyone else and spent half an hour coaxing Henry out of bed. He was finally ready, and he left with Augustus to get to the office. I wasn't all in for the idea of Henry working before even graduating high school, but my husband said it would be impossible to get him accepted into any school, even with donation with his track record. Hence, I just accepted defeat. Henry was to inherit the company anyway, so I guess it would be for the best if he learned how it worked from a young age. My husband came back home looking rather fatigued. When I asked him about it, his single word answer was Henry. Henry had gone to work with Augustus, but during break at lunch hour, he had just completely slipped off and not returned. Henry came home late, and Augustus had a huge argument with him. A few days went by, and Henry had started staying at the office to the end. However, every night, Augustus and Henry had an argument. One day, Augustus came back home early. I can't deal with Henry at work anymore. What's wrong, Augustus? I switched off the stove immediately and went to sit by Augustus on the dining table. He has been bullying all my employees. They have been working overtime to complete his share of work. They were all threatening me that they would quit unless I pulled Henry out of the office. He took a deep breath and nodded his head, taking a sip of water. He has even ruined some of my machines. I had initially thought he was just learning, but I found out today that it was intentional. He was angry that I forced him into work and was trying to take revenge. His idea of revenge is my expensive machines that pay for his lifestyle. I can't. I kept my hand on his shoulder, trying to calm him down. It's okay, Augustus. Don't keep him. Maybe he can find himself some job for the time being. Don't be stressed. Your blood pressure. Henry walked in, throwing his bag on the couch. Oh, what are you two crying about again? You have been bullying my employees. Augustus shouted at him. He was red in anger. His veins all popped out. Henry began laughing. Oh, that? That was nothing. Just some workplace bonding, you know. You have ruined my machines and my employees. You call that nothing? I'm not going to give you 1 penny more. In fact, you should leave this house as well. Oh, come on. You won't give it to me? You got no one else. I will leave it to strangers, than an incapable and indecent man like you. I would just sue you then. Augustus kicked Henry out of the house immediately. Henry left the house with some bags nonchalantly. He went to the courthouse to look for some lawyers. All of them dismissed him. However, he found a lawyer outside the building who promised him that he would sue his father. Henry paid the man almost all of his savings. He filed a court case which was dismissed at once. When Henry went to the lawyer to ask him about it, he simply told him that he had promised to file it and never to win. Henry was dumbfounded and came home instantly. He was out of money, and even his friend didn't want him at his house anymore. He begged us to take him back, but Augustus kept declining. In anger, Henry threw a bottle at Augustus, which missed him and hit my head instead. I started bleeding instantly, and seeing that instead of helping out, Henry began to throw more things at us and then fled immediately. Augustus took me to the nearby hospital. It wasn't a deep wound, not even close to the wound in my heart. My own son had caused this injury. When we got home, we saw that our house was a mess. Someone had broken into our cupboards and stolen a lot of things. Both I and Augustus were sure that it was Henry. We cleaned the house and let it be. Henry couldn't go far with the money he had taken. After a few weeks, we heard Henry was working at a local coffee shop as a waiter. He never attempted to contact us again, and we never contacted him either. After the last incident, we saw that he had no empathy for us. Perhaps We were not meant to have children. Soon enough, I and Augustus decided to move near a branch location of Augustus's office. I began fostering some kids, and it gave me great joy to see them appreciate my love. We heard that Henry had been unable to keep the job at McDonald's and had decided to steal some more money. However, he had gotten caught and was charged with burglary. It always pained me to think that my son had turned out the way he had. However, I'd finally made peace thinking that there's so little we can do to shape individuals in the way we want, as they always have a mind of their own. We had tried to give Henry the best possible life, but he had chosen to take advantage of it and turn to wrong things despite being privileged.